Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is under pressure after the U.S. and other nations recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as the country's rightful head of state on Wednesday. Trump formally recognized Guaido minutes after the 35-year-old president of the Venezuela National Assembly declared himself the head of state. Countries including Canada, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, and Panama quickly followed the U.S. lead. Maduro responded by breaking diplomatic relations with the U.S., giving American diplomats 72 hours to leave the country. The U.S. has steadily expanded economic sanctions and denunciations of Maduro since Trump took office. Trump told reporters at the White House that all options are on the table for the U.S. to use against the Maduro regime, though he added he isn't currently considering military action. Here to discuss this and much more, I'm joined by White House Director of Strategic Communications and Special Assistant to the President, Mercedes Schlapp. Mercedes, thanks for being with us. Now, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, canceled the President's State of the Union, and he responded this way. She canceled it because of the shutdown. Watch.
The State of the Union speech has been canceled by Nancy Pelosi because she doesn't want to hear the truth. She doesn't want the American public to hear what's going on, and she's afraid of the truth. And the super left Democrats, the radical Democrats, what's going on in that party is shocking.
Mercedes, from the president's tweets, it looks like he's going to wait until the shutdown's over and then we'll have this address. So Tuesday, is it off the map? Is it out of the question?
Well, so far, as of today, yes. The president has made the decision to not give the State of the Union on Tuesday. He feels that the House chamber is the right place to be able to address the American people and talk about his great accomplishments that we've been able to achieve under his leadership. And quite frankly, I think Speaker Pelosi has spent more time in this pettiness of sending letters about the State of the Union, asking him not to come for security reasons, although that wasn't accurate, and then changing her mind and rescinding the invitation. So she keeps focusing more on that than negotiating and coming to the table, offering a counteroffer, and basically reopening the government.
Well, former Homeland Security Chief and White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, along with 4 other Homeland Security secretaries, sent a letter to the President and Congress urging them to end the shutdown, claiming that public safety is at risk. What's been the reaction at the White House and your reaction to that letter?
Well, I mean, the reaction is that we want the Democrats to come to the table and negotiate. The president presented a good faith offer. It was a proposal that included ways to secure the border, including elements that the Democrats could agree on. And yet the Democrats refused to even have the conversation with the president. And so Nancy Pelosi put out her statement even before the president spoke on Saturday and said it was a non-starter. So again, we want to be able to reopen the government immediately. At the same time, we need to deal with this crisis on the border. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a security crisis. And too many families in the United States have lost loved ones because of the activities of illegal criminals who have killed family members. And we really should be working on being able to reduce drugs, reduce crimes, and reduce criminals from coming through the border.
Mercedes, the president this evening, it seems he's saying he could support a temporary shutdown deal if there's a large down payment on the wall. Is this 3-week continuing resolution thing we're hearing about, that he's willing to open the government for 3 weeks if they can have an active negotiation?
He's looking at a number of alternatives, that being one of them. As he mentioned, it would include a down payment for the wall. The question is, can Congress get their act together? Can the Democrats come to the table and agree to something at this point where we can have both Democrats and Republicans be able to reopen the government and find a way to ensure that there's border security? The president has made his position very clear. The problem, obviously, has been the Democrats all along, where they have been more focused on politics and less focused on helping federal workers, helping those impacted families that are crossing the border, and also the American people who want and demand safety in their communities.
Mercedes, does the White House lose leverage by opening the government with this kind of 3-week deal? I mean, it's been closed for a month. If he reopens it, doesn't everyone just go back to their default positions?
Look, there's a deadlock right now in Congress, and we need to find a solution. So let's see what Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell come up with. They're in ongoing negotiations as we speak. And I think that the president wants to see what the Senate has to offer. He has offered his good faith proposal, something that we know, mainstream America agrees with. But the reality has become that the Democrats have no interest in talking about it. They have no interest, as Nancy Pelosi said from day one, that even if we were to reopen the government, she had no interest in negotiating with the president on border security, on the wall. So the president understands that border security, including ensuring that we have these physical barriers and listening to our Border Patrol agents, that these are the resources we need to deal with this growing crisis on the border where you have 60,000 illegal immigrants crossing the border a month. And in the cases where you see 1 in 3 women being sexually assaulted, these smugglers and human traffickers who take advantage of these children and women and these vulnerable families at the border. This needs to stop, and we need to make sure that we give the resources to our Border Patrol agents and our officers and ensure that there's physical barrier in place so they're able to manage the problem.
Mercedes, how much is the White House looking for? I mean, a few months ago, it was $25 million. Now the asking price is down to $5 million. $5 billion rather. How did it get? How did we move the price so low?
Well, no, I mean the $5 billion would cover the over 200 miles of walls, the wall or the physical barrier that they could create. This is based on the 10 top priorities of the Border Patrol agents. The $25 billion was an even more expansive number in addition to the physical barrier, and that was basically allocated through several years. So I think the key is trying to make sure that we're able to get physical barrier funding. That is not the only thing that we would want. Obviously, we need to make sure, as Democrats agree, that there's humanitarian assistance for those on the southern border. We want to make sure there's that counter-narcotic technology. It detects weapons. It detects drugs at these ports of entry. So we are in favor of more technology, more personnel, as well as more immigration judges to deal with the vast numbers of backlog. I mean, we're talking about 800,000 cases that still need to be heard.
Right.
So we are dealing with a serious resource deficiency at the border, and it's something that the president's wanting to address now because it's something, quite frankly, Raymond, that hasn't been dealt with for decades. And this is the moment in time that we can resolve this because the crisis is growing and it is real.
Are you surprised at this poll, this Marist NPR poll, where the president's job approval among Latinos is at 50%? Why do you think we're seeing that? That seems counter to the media narrative we've been hearing for so many weeks here.
Well, I mean, because the president has been fighting hard for all Americans. And I think when you look at the economic success stories for Latino families, I think it's so telling. I mean, the fact that unemployment numbers for Hispanics are at an all-time low. I mean, also, the president stands for those traditional family values. I mean, we saw the importance of his fight for pro-life causes, as well as religious liberty, something that he feels very strongly about. And it's an administration that stands for pro-family legislation and pro-family beliefs. And I think that that's something that Latino families can relate to. Absolutely.
I want to talk about something we discussed earlier with one of the Covington Catholic High School parents enmeshed in this viral story that really took the nation by storm this week. Is the administration inviting those students to the White House? And what is the president's take on this?
Well, first of all, I think the president has coined the term fake news pretty early on. And I do think that it's very unfortunate that you had so many liberal journalists that had to retract their comments, that had to basically said that then had to apologize on Twitter because it was a complete knee-jerk reaction. They see a MAGA hat and their automatic reaction is white privilege, racism, bigotry. This is not what America's about. This isn't land where we have the opportunity to see both sides of the story, where we're able to promote healthy debate and dialogue. And so I think that, you know, the liberal media has made it very clear where they stand and made a very emotional decision instead of watching the whole entire video and then being objective, which is what traditional journalism was all about back in the day, Raymond. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, well, we can look back and look at it fondly.
The glory days.
Yeah, in the rearview mirror. Some are saying it was the kid's MAGA hat, and many of the boys were wearing it. That's what triggered this, and that is a symbol of racism and hate. You'd say what?
You know, it's a symbol of opportunity. It's a symbol of growth. It's a symbol about a great America, about an exceptional America, where we're able to build on prosperity and remember that America is a wonderful country, that where we all have all these wonderful freedoms. I mean, you look at what's happening in Venezuela right now, where you've had a dictator, Nicolás Maduro, basically destroy a nation, basically take away a fragile democracy. And what we have in America is this opportunity to be able to have freedom of speech and freedom to worship, and really the opportunity to have great economic growth like no other country. And we're the envy of other nations. And that's something that I think we really believe in, and what the president believes in, which is that of making sure that every American has opportunity and an ability to make something great of their lives.
Mercedes, before I let you go, you brought up Venezuela. The Trump administration announced that they were backing the opposition leader, Juan Guaido, in Venezuela. On Wednesday, the president tweeted his support, writing, "The citizens of Venezuela have suffered for too long at the hands of the illegitimate Maduro regime. Today, I've officially recognized the president of the Venezuelan National Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the interim president of Venezuela." Now, other countries have also backed the U.S., but Russia and China have not. Is that a problem? And could Venezuela, Mercedes, become a proxy war, if you will, between China, Russia, and the United States, similar to what we've seen in the Middle East?
You know, that's a great question, Raymond. Here's the issue. What we're seeing in Venezuela has been the inability to have fair and free elections in this country. The Venezuelan people want to speak up. They have seen a destruction in a nation where now their population is greatly suffering, where there's not enough food, there's not enough money, there's no opportunity, where literally the government has taken full control. And that is why you're finally seeing the people of Venezuela stand up against this regime. And the United States and this president has been so strong in sending a message that we are supporting right now the interim president, Juan Guaido, who really understands that the voice of what the needs are of the Venezuelan people. And it's very telling when you know who your friends are. And if Russia and China are going to be your best friends in this plan, you know you're in the wrong place here. So we are pushing for freedom, democracy, the ability of the people to rule themselves, where we have free and fair elections in Venezuela. And that is why the president is standing by Juan Guaido, who, as we know, will hopefully be able to take the reins and we can get Maduro out of there.
Mercedes Schlapp, thank you for your time, and we'll be checking in with you in the coming days.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Thank you.